Oh, shit. You would think with all these action games we've been having midweek, I might be getting a little burnout on college football DFS. Not in this lifetime, pal. I love this shit, and it just gets Sunday here a little bit quicker than we have NFL. I'm a golf nerd, so I got that going on Wednesday. This is just the best time of year. You cannot beat the fall for DFS. I will die on this hill. If you don't believe me, fight me. What's up, new guy? My name is James, better known as the Degenerate75. I'm a DFS content creator who is here to help you get a little bit better at DFS. I've been doing it a really long time, and let me just go ahead and tell you a little secret. Not a lot of people know. Shit be tough, all right? And I'm going to help you get better at it, not by giving you my core plays and picks and all that nonsense. I'm going to try to help you a little bit with the process and tell you all the things you're doing wrong. If that sounds interesting, I encourage you to hang around for about the next 20 to 25 minutes, depending on just how fast I get through this damn video. If you really like the cut of my jib, you check out that schedule right there, new guy. I do this show every Friday night. I also do NFL on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, and I even do PGA. I'm the sweatiest tryhard you'll ever meet. So let's get going. Do me a favor, like, subscribe, tell a friend. You can see we're getting real close to 5,000 subscribers. It wasn't even on my radar of things to do. If we could do it in my first 18 months, that would be silly. I would appreciate it, you mother fathers. All right, let's start where we should always start. A little contest selection. As you can see, the big GPPs, the big lottery, the payout structure really sucks, Bob. Like, I get one to play GPPs at college football. It's honestly a sport that pairs. It's like pizza with a good Pinot Noir. It just pairs nicely. I have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about. I don't know wine. But this payout structure, you got to be 11,000 people, and 10th place only pays $750. I don't know, man. I find, GPPs are great for college football because, it is really nice to stack games. You get rewarded for that if those games shoot out. But here's what I'll tell you, man. Just go play in some of these smaller ones. Don't always worry about getting in the big one. What's this air raid down here? Nope, that's a third to first. Polly, tell him. That means get the fuck out of here. Look, new guy. Just start playing a contest that have less than 2,000 people, and roughly 10 to 20% goes to first. Just follow those two rules; they'll do good. But as I'm going to tell you, what I always tell you, there's two things you should be playing. Number one, you should be playing cash game, which is double up and head to heads. If you have not this entire season played any cash game and you're down at college football, you have nobody to blame but yourself. If you've played cash game and you're down, let me ask you this: how many head to heads have you played? Because I started the year playing almost all double ups, and now I'm about 75% head-to-heads versus double-ups because, when you play a head-to-head, you just need one of those two people to be a dumbass, and usually it's not me. Usually it's not me. Occasionally it is, okay? So that's why I like head-to-heads. Telling you, try them, and also be looking out for satellites. Be in there around lock, and you'd be surprised sometimes how much of an overlay you can get on some of these satellites, especially if it's for another sport, like NBA and stuff. If you like to play that, you'll catch them. So I encourage you to try that. But of course, the one contest you should definitely get in is mine, you mother father. It is a $5 3 max with a flat payout structure and a reduced rate. You go fill it now. The link is in the description of this video. If you don't fill it, I will kick you in the nutsack, okay? Thank you. Just a quick shout out to our winners last week. Oh, Parker CG70. Good. Look at that. Top 3 people flying the flag. Cool people right there, motherfathers. Get in there. Fill it up. I'll give you a shout out if you win. If you're flying the flag, I'll give you a high five and a shout out, okay? Hey, if you haven't noticed, the big guy's been leaning harder into props. This is something I'm going to be adding to the site in 2024 for less than $10. Less than $10 a month. I'm going to have a prop pick section where we will do it for all of the sports that we cover. Here are some of the prop picks I like this week, free on the house. By the way, not that I'm keeping count, but we have hit 71% of our props since we started posting them. Go back, watch all the shows. We'd be doing real good. Real good. All right, here's something like this week. Eugene Wilson, over 61.5 receiving yards. I really think that Florida game has got all the shootout potential in the world. And here's the best part. Florida throws the ball to two motherfathers. They throw it to Wilson and they throw it to Pearsall. So I'm going to take the one with less receiving yards, and I'm going to take the over on that, right? Eugene Wilson, very likely. I mean, the guy's going to get 9 targets. He's going to get 7 catches, and he's electric as shit. He's probably going to get 80 to 85 yards. Logan Loya. Oh, Loya. By the way, very, very nicely priced on DraftKings, might I add. Logan Loya, for playing UCLA in a game that potentially just has shootout written all over it. He has emerged as the number 1 wide receiver. Don't give me no shit about it. Sturdivant, shut your mouth. It is Logan Loya, and he has a ridiculously low 46.5 point total. They got Gerbers, the old baby food, passing in the ball. I think he's going to, I really like the over. Cody Schrader, if you don't know, Cody Schrader's a manimal. All right, that guy, like, Missouri is playing really well this year, and it is largely due on the back of this guy. Everybody gives the credit to Cook, to Burden, but I'm telling you, go watch the games. Cody Schrader is a beast, and he's involved. He never leaves the field, first of all, and second of all, he is involved in both the running and the passing game. For him to only have to get over 23.5 receiving yards for a guy that's involved in the passing game as much as he is, I love it. Next up, old Ben Sinnott, okay, old snot face. He's the big K-State tight end. He is basically the second option behind Phillip Brooks, and like honestly, he should probably be closer to 50 yards based on our projections. He's at 38.5. Give me the over. I'm telling you, this K-State Kansas game has a sneaky shootout vibe to it. Okay, Kansas maybe not playing any defense, but they can move the ball. All right, this ain't your daddy's K-State. They give up points now. And lastly, Tez Johnson over 72.5 passing yards. If you just look at the recent usage and the volume, Tez Johnson has been equal, if not surpassing, Troy Franklin at Oregon. I really think he's emerging as their number one wide receiver. They're trying to get Bo Nix those Heisman points, and let's face it, Tez Johnson can get 72 yards with one catch because that motherfather is electric. So there you go. We're going heavy on the overs, just trying to take advantage of them putting out weaker lines. All right? Hey, you're like, hey, Degen, you keep talking about all these projections and shit you got. Well, yeah, let me tell you right here. You see right here, you drop down, it says Degenerate 75. Look at that. All my projections right there. Ownership's in there, projections in there. All of the players that you need are in there. I've got the main slate. You can go to the night slate, afternoon, anything you want, the projections are in there, right? This right here is called the solver. It's an optimizer. If you don't know what an optimizer is, it's not going to just magically give you the answers to the test. But if you know how to make a player pool and you know how to like narrow it down and get the right people, this will make the best versions of that player pool, right? It also helps you identify the most optimal lineups if you're a cash builder. Maybe you don't want to run the optimal, but you want to run some version of it, so you start with that optimal, and then you can build off of it. These are the things you can do with an optimizer that you can't do as a hand builder. For all of you that aren't playing without it, God bless your soul. God bless your soul. But I'll just tell you, I've had the most successful year I've ever had at DFS as far as GPP wins, simply just because this is the first year I've used the solver for the entire year. Here's the best part. You want my projections, you want my ownership, and you want the solver, but you're a casual player. You can't afford anything fancy. $24.99 a month. That's it. And that gets you all three of those things, the optimizer and all my shit. You just got to simply use that little landing page right there when you sign up. It is not too late. There is infinite amount of bowls coming up, and if you're going to try to navigate college football DFS in the bowl season without having me and my sweaty tryhard staff going through all the news about who's sitting out and who's emerged during practices, good luck to you, pal. All right, let's get to it. This is the Rosetta Stone. Yes, it is the blanked out version that you pores on YouTube get. You will deal with it. If you want the fancy color one, well, that's over on my website, but more on that in a little bit. Let's run through this 12-game slate real quick and give you all the relevant information you need to know and help you prep for the Saturday main slate on DraftKings. Yes, I do have a FanDuel slate. Yes, I do have a late slate, but this is the main slate because you know what? I only get so many effing hours in a day, pal. All right, first up, Louisville. Okay, if you try to say Louisville with vowels, you're saying it wrong. It's Louisville. Okay, and they are playing Miami. Let me just go ahead and tell you a little secret. I think Louisville is pretty damn good. I think they're pretty good, right? And another little secret, Tyler Van sucks. Okay, so I really think that this is going to be a real struggle bus for Miami. I'm not saying they might win the game. You can see we only have a 1.5 point line here, but we're not betting games. We're playing college football DFS. And at college football DFS, I ain't trying to play a whole bunch of hurricanes, right? Van sucks, which then nerfs all of his receivers because I don't trust him to get it to him, and it's not like any of those guys are exactly a value, right? And then their running back, Miami actually has found some success running the ball this year. It's been one of the better things they've done, but the problem is they have like 4 running backs, and it's like, you never know who the hell it's going to be, right? If you made me pick, I guess I would guess Chaney, but like who knows with these motherfathers. So trying to play Miami in this game is just really tricky. Lowell, on the other hand, only has a 24-point total. And like Vegas is trying to tell us that this is going to be a slow, sluggy game based on this, right? Jack Plummer is not priced to play at $8,700. He's inexcusably overpriced. Juwan Jordan, I think, is a stud. I mean, that guy, if I'm playing GPPs, I'm rotating him into my pool. At cash, maybe not. He's just a little too pricey without that guaranteed floor. They still have Thrash as their number one wide receiver, but at $7,400, I'm spending $7,400. I'm going to go get a wide receiver for a team that has a bigger than 24-point total, pal. So, in college football DFS, part of it is just knowing the games that are good and the games that are not good. And even though this has a competitive total, it does not have a high total. It does not have super efficient, great offenses. So I think this is a game that I'm largely going to be staying away from because even the decent plays in this game are just overpriced, in my opinion. pal. Moving on. Boomer Sooner. Okay. Hey, we finally won again. It felt good. All right. Can't wait to go to BYU and lose to a bunch of Mormons in magic underwear. So here we go. Oh, yeah. Sorry, Mormons. I love you. I wear magic underwear, too. It's just mine are Duluth. So, OU. Dylan Gabriel is good. He's a really good fantasy player. $9,800 whenever there's questionable weather. It kind of reminds me of the Kansas game. We saw Jeff Lebby, the offensive coordinator, get, his butthole pucker straight up. Dylan Gabriel must have the smallest hands in the world and can't throw in the rain. So, be aware of that we have seen. If there is rain, Jeff Lebby goes straight wiener mode, okay? And he didn't even let Dylan Gabriel run unless I don't play. And then Dylan Gabriel's freaking Lamar Jackson. The running back situation is particularly difficult. It would appear as though Gavin Zalchuk has finally won that backfield over. He dominated touches the last few games. I think if Marcus Major's out, really the only real threat to take any carries from him is Talwee Walker, who is a walk-on. I think OU's probably realizing this late in the season you don't want to be relying on a walk-on as your starting running back. So I think it's Gavin Zalchuk's, but trusting an OU running back is, I'm just telling you, you're playing with fire, Bob. I think he's a great GPP play, but in cash, I'm not sure. Okay. Wide receivers, they basically have 3 wide receivers. It's Farouk, it's Nick Anderson, it's Bob Stoops. Bob Stoops doesn't have, okay. It's actually his son. It's Drake Stoops. And all 3 of these guys are good. Drake Stoops has been unbelievable the last 2 weeks, but I still believe that Nick Anderson is the bigger upside guy. Jalil Farouk is probably the safer guy, but you would be a fool to ignore Drake Stoops and what he's been doing. I'm just telling you, I am a little worried about that price tag. $6,800 for Drake Stoops just reeks of like a 7.5 burger incoming. For BYU, it appears as though Keaton Slovis is going to be out. Ratzliff, whatever you say his name. He is more of a runner than Slovis. So if Ratzliff is the quarterback, I think you're going to have to nerf all of BYU's receivers. Their running backs have basically gotten unplayable with LJ Martin and Robbins playing them, and they only have a 16-point total in sloggy conditions. I think BYU's probably going to keep it closer than 24, but I also am not trying to line up to play any of these guys at college football DFS manana. Another sloggy game. As you can see, we're going to have wind, and we have, 2 teams that are pretty content just, playing as slow as humanly possible. First team to 13 wins this game. Michigan is good. They're a really good team, but they're not a really good fantasy team. And you have to understand the difference between this, right? Georgia is an incredible football team. They're not an incredible fantasy football team. So, yes, you got to remember that we are here to play good plays, not play good teams. And Michigan, they literally did not pass the ball once all second half last week, and it wouldn't surprise me if they do that shit again. J.J. McCarthy, unplayable. And if he's unplayable, that makes the wide receivers unplayable. Of course, Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards need to be factored in. Donovan Edwards is starting to get going. I do think he'll get 12 to 15 touches. And at 4,900, with as electric as he is, he could get there, right? I think he's a sneaky GPP play. But, man, Corum at 8,400 on a slate where there's not a ton of punts, I don't love it. Who should you play for Maryland? Oh, that's easy. No one. That's who you play from Maryland. They have a 15-point total. They're playing Michigan. They spread the ball around to everybody, and they're all overpriced. Need I say more? Let's move on. Rutgers and Penn State, let me just get out a big black marker and put an X over this game, okay? When you're talking on a 12-game main slate, you don't want to be grabbing a little, I'll have a little piece of this game and a little piece of this game and a little piece of this game. Shit or get off the pot on these games. And these Big Ten games, usually the answer is get off the pot. That's the answer. You don't want to be playing these games. If you play anybody from Rutgers, why don't you just send me $50 and I will pay to have somebody come to your house and kick you in the nuts, because that's what you're doing when you play guys from Rutgers, okay? But what if he sneaky goes off? Well, he's not. So there you go. Penn State, Lambert Smith is definitively the number 1 wide receiver. I bet he is probably, going to get you 12 points. And if that's what you want, then go take your 12 points, okay? Go take your 2X and run to the bank with it, laughing all the way. But to me, for Penn State, the only 2 guys to really consider are Singleton and Allen at running back. They just have such a dominant running game. They're likely to be playing from ahead. You just got to try to get the one that's going to catch the touchdown variance. Maybe one of them gets 100-yard rushing and 2 or 3 touchdowns. They could break the slate. But outside of that, Drew Aller, get the F out of here, Bob. Now we start getting into some good games. Appalachian State, speaking of Michigan. Am I right? 2007? Was that 2005? 2006. God, I'm old. Appalachian State playing James Madison. James Madison, the team that the NCAA just insists on screwing over this bowl season. Let's just lead here. James Madison be real good. Okay? They're just a really good football team. But you know what? It's not just that they're a good football team. They're a good fantasy football team too, right? They move the ball. They are efficient on offense. They have a good quarterback. Jordan McLeod is a guy who can get it done through the air. He can get it done with his legs. They have solid running backs with Lawton and Black, and then they have the 2 big receivers, Reggie Brown and Elijah Surratt. All right. Problem is, often James Madison doesn't get pushed by the other team, but I think Appalachian State has enough offense to push the pace of this game. If this is one of those games that's, 42-31, this is a game where guys are going to get there, right? And if you're looking at Appalachian State, I think that they have tons of viable options, right? The quarterback is very playable, Joey Aguilar, especially in GPPs. If you think he's going to push the pace of this game, why not have him as a run back against a James Madison stack? Wide receiver situation is super tricky, right? I can't even explain to you what's going on. Christian Horn is their main guy, but he's been like banged up and he's played like a couple plays the last few games. Is he going to be out there? Is he not? I bet he's going to play, and then they're going to pull him, and we're like, what are we doing here? So I guess Caden Robinson would probably be the safest play for him if you're looking for that. But man, I'd be trying to watch out for some Christian Horn news. I can tell you right now that me and my sweaty ass Discord will be like sweating that news, trying to find something out, because I think it has a pretty big ripple effect. Overall, this is a game I'm really trying to get into. There's just a natural, and the noobs, the people that aren't sweaty tryhards, are not going to be lining up to play assholes in this game, right? They're going to go play the names of the big teams that they know. Utah, Arizona. Arizona was everybody's favorite team last week, and well, Fafita kind of sucked, okay? It wasn't good, right? Coleman was awesome, and I think Coleman's still good, but don't underestimate what a role that Wiley plays in that. He's a Wiley dude, and he will steal some touches. McMillan and Cowing are definitively the top two receivers, but notice on my little sheet here, you see how Cowing has the little injury designation? We got to watch him. If he's out, I think Lamonius Craig becomes a pretty nice punt, and you need punts on this slate because there's not a lot of punts available, right? So if Lamonius Craig becomes available, I think that he's only a guy you want to consider if Cowing is out, right? Because Utah does still play solid offense or solid defense, and I don't think that this game is probably going to be a shootout. That just reeks of like a 21-20 game. For Utah, who am I playing? The only one I'm giving any real consideration to is Devon Bailey. I think he was hurt at the start of the year. We've seen him trending up and up and up. He has clearly established himself as the number one wide receiver. He was really good last year. Him and Kincaid were the two guys from Utah you would always consider, but we just haven't seen that this year. But he does seem to be trending. I think I'm warm to playing Valet. And Utah, and they have a 24-point total. And I'm telling you, once you start building your lineups, you're going to see there ain't a lot of places to punt. North Carolina and Clemson, another game I love. I love this game. This just smells like shootout. It smells like shootout. Problem is, people are priced up, right? Drake May at $9,600, almost unplayable, right? If you're going to pay that, if you're going to pay $9,600 for Drake May, just go pay up for Gabriel or Caleb Williams or any of those guys. But Omarion Hampton, he good. He good. And he is definitely won over that backfield. Clemson is no longer the 4 first-rounders on the defensive line team anymore. North Carolina is going to run the ball on Clemson. That I promise you. Bryson Nesbitt is, has been my little secret that nobody knows about, but now they finally priced him up. He's the tight end from North Carolina. He's priced up to $5,000 now, which makes him a lot harder to play. I don't love paying up for tight ends at $5,000 unless they're Brock Powers, okay? For Clemson, I think Cade Klubnik's underpriced, right? They have a 32.5-point total. He's a guy that can run the ball. He's a guy that can pass the ball. They probably are going to score. I would guarantee you 35 points in this game because North Carolina, it's defensive optional there, right? What's interesting about Clemson, though, is the running back situation. Phil Maffa is out-projecting Will Shipley. Ever since Will was out that 1 week, I believe it was with a concussion, and Phil had I believe he had 475 carries that week. We saw Shipley come back last week, and Phil Maffa still outpaced him. So I think Phil Maffa might be the slight leader in this backfield split. At wide receiver, Tonio Williams, I guess, is just out for a lifetime. That always opens up value for Tyler Brown and Bo Collins. But I think a lot of people are going to go to Jake Burningstall, the tight end, because people love a good punt tight end. In a game like this, I think at $4,000, he offers some nice punt options. And if you're a real sicko, go play high hills. Mr. Troy Stiletto. Wake Forest, Notre Dame. Hard no. Okay, if you play anybody from Wake Forest, once again, you just send me that $50. I'll get you a kick in the nuts a gram sent to your house. For Notre Dame, Sam Hartman, I guess, could be a sneaky play in GPPs, and you also got to remember they have some really nice punt pass catchers, right? Like Chris Tyree, Thomas, Rico Flores, trying to figure out who's going to have a good game. You go ahead, because Notre Dame's down all their main wide receivers, so that usage has to go somewhere. But to me, it really just feels like an Audric Estime week, right? He is a guy that I would guarantee he gets 20 touches, probably gets 5 touches inside the 5-yard line, so it almost feels like an auto 100 yards and 2 touchdown kind of game. They're going to be playing from ahead. Estime is definitely their lead back, and he's a guy who has a nose for the end zone. $8,000, not the cheapest, but I think I would feel pretty confident putting him in my lineups. UCLA and USC, let me just go ahead and tell you the secret. UCLA, you know what makes them really good? They're playing USC. That's what makes them really good. Dante Moore is still out. Ethan Gerbers, the old baby food, is taking over at quarterback. UCLA, Chip Kelly, rest in peace, brother. Rest in peace, Chip. I heard a funny thing that Jimbo Fisher and Chip Kelly be getting fired. They should start a podcast called Fish and Chips. Okay. Carson Steele and TJ Harden are splitting this backfield. Still leading it. That's a lot of steals. But Harden has a role, right? And I think any running back, even backup running backs against USC's defense, needs to be in consideration. As I've already told you earlier, Logan Loya is definitively the number one wide receiver on this team. I think he is very, very playable against slapdick USC. And I think Sturdivant is too, especially if you're looking for some run backs against Caleb Williams, because Caleb Williams be real price prohibitive. $10,900. Caleb Williams is still the best college football player in college football, and he is the best college fantasy quarterback in college football. Problem is, trying to pay $10,900 for Caleb Williams on this slate, good luck, Bob. Furthermore, if you are going to pay him, who are you going to stack him with, right? USC's wide receivers are all overpriced. Literally, Rice, Washington, Branch, Williams, they're all overpriced, okay? And then they're not even guaranteed a workload. So good luck trying to pair Caleb Williams. If I want to play Caleb Williams, I would legit just play him naked. That's what I would do. No, naked Caleb Williams. At running back, I guess you can go with Marshawn Lloyd. I have him projected a little bit higher than most, but I still don't love it, right? But I also don't think UCLA is playing much defense either. This just reeks of a 41-31 game. Getting over to Georgia, Tennessee, I personally think Georgia's going to beat the brakes off of Tennessee, but Vegas and a lot of the betting public seem to think that Tennessee's going to keep this close. If they do keep it close, I still don't think they're a great option when it comes to, scoring fantasy points, right? Joe Milton at 7,500, pass. Trying to guess which of those three running backs is going to have a good game, pass. Squirrel White, I gave up on that guy long time ago, and I guess if you forced me to play somebody from Tennessee, I would be lukewarm to Ramel Keaton, okay? But Georgia, on the other hand, I think they have all kinds of options. They are a team that is really starting to get rolling, and their offense seems to be just as good as their defense, and now they're getting all their weapons back and healthy, right? Carson Beck, yes, he is overpriced at $9,000, and there is a good chance he's not going to get pushed in this game. But man, if I had to bet my right testicle on somebody who's going to score 20 points this week, not named Caleb Williams, it would be Carson Beck. Okay, the guy's going to automatically get you 20 points. He's a good, solid quarterback, and that sucks because Georgia's probably going to win another national title. Dijon Edwards, $7,500, just too pricey. If you're going to pay $7,500 for him, I could give you 6 running backs at or around that price that are better than him. But the wide receivers are interesting. They basically have narrowed down this wide receiver rotation to McConkey and Lovett playing wide receiver. They're out there the vast majority of plays getting the targets, and of course Brock Bowers at tight end. They are all priced up, but I think any of them could have a monster game. I would almost guarantee you one of those guys has a 25-point game. I wish I could tell you who it's going to be, but it wouldn't surprise me if all of them had at least 10 to 12 and one of them goes for 30. This just feels like a very good game for that Georgia passing game. Probably the most delicious game on the slate. Houston, who has a pretty good, fast offense. It's hit or miss. But here's what I do know. Their defense sucks. Okay, it's not good. And Oklahoma State, we know, doesn't play defense. So Oklahoma State is absolutely an amazing play on this slate because there's a good chance they're going to score a lot of points, and there's also a good chance they're going to give up a lot of points. So both the quarterbacks in this game are going to be popular, especially Donovan Smith. I think people realize that Ollie Gordon is, still awesome. He's still probably, if I had to bet, I would still say the over-under on him is probably like 150 rushing yards, and he's involved in the passing game. And Oklahoma State desperately needs to win this game. If they lose this, they control their own destiny getting to the Big 12 championship game. They are going to give everything they have. They just have to beat 2 slapdick teams, and they're in the Big 12 championship. So they are going to run Ollie Gordon into the ground this week. Now, is he going to be wildly inefficient like he was against UCF? Perhaps. But I'll tell you this, the guy's good. They also have some of the best values at wide receiver on the slate. Basically, their wide receiver core has now been narrowed down to Owens, Presley, and Leon Johnson III. Leon Johnson gets the big bombs. Owens is the possession receiver, and Presley's kind of the in-between of those two. And I think all of them are super viable, especially in GPPs. Going over to Houston, if you don't know, Matthew Golden is out, so I think that gives a nice bump to Samuel Brown as definitively the number 1 wide receiver. I think Manjack, it gets a little bit of a bump too. And if you're looking for a punt, okay, who's going to be that third wide receiver out on the field? I think it's going to be Stephen Johnson. I think it's going to be Dalton Carnes, okay? Those are the two. Carnes is a little scrappy white dude that plays the slot, and Stephen Johnson's a much more athletic guy that can play the slot or play out wide. And the last game on the slate, Oregon and Arizona State. That's just, Oregon. I think Oregon's rolling, man. Like, Oregon's not a team you want to be playing right now. They have, to me, the most smash play on the slate, Bucky Irving. That guy is good. I mean, he's like got to be, now that Jonathan Brooks is out, I would hear arguments that he's the best running back in the nation. Him or Ollie Gordon, probably, right? Bo Nix is good. He's just overpriced. You can't play him. And then the wide receivers for Oregon, they're good. I mean, Tez and Troy Franklin are the main two guys, but here's what I would tell you. You got to watch out that the Arizona State doesn't push the pace of this game, and how good are you going to do when you only get 3/4 of Tez or Franklin? Now, maybe you'll buy the narrative that they want to get Nix as Heisman. They leave him in there in the fourth quarter, and he gets his 6 passing touchdowns or whatever, right? If that's the case, I think Tez Johnson and Troy Franklin are on the table, but mainly only for GPPs. Who should you play for Arizona State? If you want to run back, I think the most logical one is old Eli Badger game. But overall, Arizona State with a 15.5 point total, I'm not in love with them. I'm not lining up to play them, right? This has been a quick look at the slate and some plays to consider both for cash and GPPs. I want to tell you, go check out Degen75.com. Look, right here, college football DFS. I got everything you need, right? I have this thing right here called the Rosetta Stone, which goes over every single slate. It has all my projections, ownership, leverage, the coloring of who you need to play and all that, because college football DFS is fun, but it's a lot. It's a lot to get through. So I make the Rosetta Stone is basically a call sheet. You take less than an hour, and you can have all the relevant information you need to make the best lineups possible and be able to compete and win at college football DFS. That's my goal. And oh yeah, on my website, we don't price gouge you. Also, don't forget, I have a bunch of winners. Notice, you don't see me fly my flag up there. Do I win at DFS? I've won once or twice, but it's not about me. It's about all these guys winning, building their own process, doing everything themselves. They're not doing it with my picks and my plays. They're doing it by building a process, using the proper tools, and building their own lineups and finding success. I put up a new one of these every week. It can't be an accident, you motherfather. If you've ever wanted to try the site, but you're reluctant to do it, just go sign up for my newsletter, which is in the description of this video. Tell support at Degen75 on Twitter, and they will give you a free week on the website. That's it. Hey, guys, good luck to you this week. I hope you kick some ass. I hope you come check out the website. I'll be back Saturday night at 7 o'clock for the live stream. Touchdown Hoedown. I'll see you then. But in the meantime, enjoy this outro.